Hey everyone, welcome to another Addicted Fishing podcast. We're back in studio. I'm not even going to apologize anymore. You guys know the deal. We just decide to put these out whenever we damn well want to and whenever Marlon feels like it.
That's a fact.
And Marlon's not here, and I felt like we just needed to do a podcast because this is kind of the start of the spring Chinook season for fish for real fishermen. Steel Obsession, sit down.
All right, bro.
I just woke up this morning and chose violence. I
guess so. Jeez.
Even though you probably legitimately caught more springers than I did last year. So, you guys, do you switch that to Springer Obsession Guide Service a little later on, bro?
Nope. 100% just Steel Obsession. We just bycatch springers.
I mean, springers kind of look steely-ish. Steel. What do you have? Like, is it your slogan like springers are just off season for steelhead?
Yeah.
So it's not even a real season.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah,
it's just like this.
It's
this time. Season. It's this time to get me by. It's this time to get me by.
There you go. And you're wasting time.
I'll
go kill some stupid springers. Well, I think this
sure.
guy next to you, Mr. Patrick Gaffney here in the podcast with us today, probably says otherwise because you like twirling some bait for springers.
I have a passion for the abuse.
The abuse is that. But you know what? It is worth it because I don't care what anybody says. Winter steelhead are garbage. I said it. Sue me. Don't care. They are garbage to eat. I am sorry. They are garbage.
When you fish where you fish.
Where's that? You mean the ones where I'm catching the sea lice ones? No, they're garbage. Out of all the salmon and steelhead we catch all year, maybe a Thule. Maybe they're one step above Thule.
100%.
One step above Thule?
Yeah.
What's in between winter steelhead and Thule then?
Stalker trout.
No. Salmon or steelhead, bro.
Oh.
We could say like walleye and squawfish too if we really wanted to.
I'd rather eat a chum salmon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that's BS because chum salmon on the Nushagak were fantastic.
Oh, yeah.
But they're like orange and nice.
Yeah.
Dude, blow you away. But they're like the only ones in the world that aren't garbage.
Yeah.
Would you rather eat a Puyallup chum or a winter steelhead with a little color on it? Gaffney, what's it going to be? So is chum in there between steelhead and...
Oh, man, that's...
the fact that it's even a debatable subject in your brain right now tells you exactly where winter steelhead.
Oh, they're fun as hell to catch, but I don't know. Summer run, I'd rather take a summer run.
Dude, 100%.
Yeah, summer run. The springers of the steelhead world. But no, I can tell. I mean, we're ragging on them, but guess what? We do love catching them. Like it is fun to catch winter
I
steelhead.
killed 4 today, so
there you go.
I can't.
That means you had a clean 4.
God, I know.
Gross.
I didn't even bring my kill bag today because I'm like, all right, we're in like majority wild season, like not even worrying about it. And
that's the day.
Like, all right, cool. I guess we'll just catch 4 freaking chromers.
You're the stringer guy holding them down.
No, dude, no.
We got to keep. They don't get that much respect.
No. We throw them in the boat. We got to keep those things in the boat so nobody can see them.
That's right.
Yeah.
Oh, gross. But then you had to clean them and flay them, and you know.
Yep. Got some fresh berries though. That'll be my springer bait.
Well, tis the season coming here soon. I know of a handful caught salmon wise, and
that's right. Charles got one last week.
Yeah,
and a couple other people that freaking popped a few.
Couple plunkers been getting them on the big tribs, and it's getting to be time. Still doesn't feel like springer weather.
No, it did for a couple days.
You
know, I'm not going to talk crap about the weather because so far March has been pretty pleasant compared to the last like 3 or 4 Marches we've had.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And last year was okay. It was actually pleasantly surprising, the fishing and the weather, but the year before was
rough.
It was
worst
by far worst spring salmon season for the Columbia that I've ever had. Just conditions wise, smelt,
30, 36 degrees every day, raining, windy, bitter cold, tough fishing.
38-degree water.
Fish holding off,
Yeah.
Not ideal.
Just schools and schools of smelt all the way through mid-April. Just not a very conducive year for spring salmon fishing.
Yeah, so far, what we're seeing, what we're looking at, we had that freeze come in February, and it kind of looks like winter might be over. I'm not seeing anything too scary, and a little rain.
It's trying.
Definitely a little rain, but I know, dude. I had to take a layer off.
Dude, it was warm in the
steelhead.
And
I was like, dude,
freaking snappy today for it. Like it was. I didn't even put gloves on today. That's pretty rare for me.
They were eating birds. They were literally eating anything you put down there. It was pretty sick today.
Something something.
They're eating birds.
They're eating birds, eating smelt, eating everything.
But right now it's time to
think about catching a salmon. I'd rather catch one salmon than 10 steelhead. So that's where my passion lies. Yeah, it's where my heart is, salmon fishing.
You got to have the right clients for that.
Yeah, you got to have the right clients. I've been very fortunate. I don't go above Bonneville, but this lower Columbia season, I've had the same groups for the most part for the last 5-6 years. They're in it to win it. They're grinders.
Want the first
They
ones
did.
in.
They want it.
They get the program.
They get it, and they love the punishment, and we're out there all day long. And we have some good days too where we get done early, but usually when you go salmon fishing this time of year, it's an all-day affair. If you
I don't care what anybody says. It is 1,000% predicated by the weather.
Oh,
I don't
yeah.
care what
For
that
sure.
forecast says anymore. I don't care if they say 200,000, 400,000, 150,000. If we get like the third week of March, if it just goes 60, 65 degrees and we get like a week's worth of sunny weather, it will be on.
Yep.
If we don't get that, we will suck.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, I'm dead convinced after year before last, with that extremely late and huge smelt run that has something to do with it. Every fish that I did catch, the few that I did catch, just stuffed. 10, 15 smelt,
And generally those guys, I'm going to hate to say this to you, Mr. Herring salesman, but generally when that happens, it seems like if you put out the prawn spinners, you'll get a few more bites. Just because you're different than the 10,000 baits that are floating around down there.
Yeah, no, I mean, you got to have something different smell, different color, different size, just something. I know a few guys that were downhill trolling big old Toman spinners, and they were getting a couple bites doing it under those conditions. So
I mean, springers for the most part, it's kind of weird. Like springers for the most part, they are a willing biter, and especially with the advent of using like live technologies, like in the boats now, the last 5-6 years, it's kind of like we know how many fish are really down there, and I can tell, I can tell you, it ain't a lot.
No,
and so like it does seem like when you'll stare at that damn screen all day, and then like 5 hours later see one mark and bury him.
Yep.
There
he
is.
Well, that was him. That was the one I went by today.
That's right.
That was the one.
But that also teaches us to be very, very particular in the way we troll, and also particular with the bait we use. And because if you are off your game, even just for like a little bit, and you're one or two opportunities to come across the path with one of those March springers, and you're not where you don't have what you need to have out, or you got a little complacent and you're trolling above them or below or something like that, you got bad bait on,
you ain't getting them.
You're going to miss that.
Nope.
You're going to miss that chance.
It's well worth the extra couple of bucks to have an extra pack of bait to keep things fresh. Or
Says the bait salesman.
Yeah.
He thinks that you should take off your cut plug herring every 20
pass.
minutes.
Every pass.
Every pass.
Yep.
He's like every 20 minutes, get rid of all that
half
bait.
a case a day minimum, man.
7 flats a day. I know some guys that burn that.
Oh yeah, I do, just because I'm lucky
you
that
have
way.
a lot of it.
You gotta make sure your stuff's spinning good, right in the zone. You gotta put the time in. You going out there, you might as well
do everything you can to give yourself every advantage.
You need to pay attention. The devil's in the details.
The bait is the least expensive part of your spring Chinook adventure.
Yeah.
Because if you look at your year's worth of boat payments or the cost of your boat,
absolutely,
all your maintenance, all your time, your days off work, yada, yada, bait is the least thing you should be worrying about, and it'd be really dumb to go out there with crap bait. But that's why we bring you to the neighborhood this time of year, because first thing, you brought down a freezer and some cases of herring to the Addicted retail store located here in Ridgefield.
Yep.
So you've got some bait, and then I wanted to start kind of this, the bait conversation with you, because every year we hear, they're only orange size, they're only green, they're only blue. Like, what is the layout of, what is the bait situation going into this springer season for those of you guys out here listening to this and going like, oh crap, I need to get my bait.
Yeah, you're a little late to the party if you're trying to get it now.
Hey, never mind, we're done.
No, I mean, that you hear about these bait shortages and this and that. The raw truth about it is there's just not many of us participating in the fisheries that produce the bait. There's only 3 of us that are doing it, catching them and starving them and packaging them. So when you see like shortages or, quote unquote. It's not necessarily like there's no fish out there. It's just the supply and demand issue is just kind of unbalanced. Like me and another boat, we might be putting up 75% of the total product of trade herring for the whole Alaska to California.
Dang.
There's only so many days in a herring season. You can only tray up so many. And, there's a lot of, our distributors and guys that buy a lot of volume of fish, they're putting their deposits down. They're getting their bait, months before they actually need it. Just so by the time
they're getting their chip in, and like what we talk about with almost all our fisheries, especially the guys that really want to be into it, is like preparing thinking ahead 6 months. Like these guys, but those guys, those big bait distributors, they're thinking they're probably a year ahead.
Yeah. A lot of them, large markets we have is, Alaska, and they're so seasonal that they're trying to get all their ducks in a row, in the wintertime for their summer fisheries. Like this year, there should be plenty of greens available. You will have a tough time finding reds.
Dang.
It's just greens. So when you guys just if you don't know, when we talk colors of bait, reds, greens, blues, oranges, even yellows.
Yeah,
they're all different sizes. And so just for this conversation, we're probably really going to talk about red, greens, and blues. Reds are what, up to 5 inches. Greens are up to 6. Blues are up to 7.
Yeah. Blues are 7 to 8. Greens are 6 to 7. Reds are 5.5 to 6, and that's total length of the fish, not like a cut plug bait. That's nose to tail size. For spring salmon fishing, most guys prefer a green or red label size bait, so that middle of the road to that lower echelon size. I do know a handful of guys that like fishing a larger bait like a blue label, and a few years ago when we had a quote unquote green label shortage, the orange label market really took off, and that got to be popular, behind the short bus and the skateboard flashers and towing those around. It seems like that's kind of shifting away from that. We've had more greens on the market this year and last year, so kind of guys are going back to what they used to use. But as far as reds, it was a real short time frame that I was able to catch them. So that made for me in our business, it was a real small window, so we were only able to put up X amount, and a lot of guys, they get their paws on them fast, because it seems like reds, the tendency, it's like an every other year type of thing where you have an abundance of that particular size, because they don't stay that size. They grow. They grow from spring to fall. This little by little, they creep up and up and up. So when you have the opportunity as a guy who's catching them and producing them, you got to get after it when you can.
And the significance of that, guys, is just in case you don't know, like a lot of times, for me anyways, if we get these kind of clear Columbia, lower Columbias, tides turning the back, tides turning the Columbia back on itself. If you go out with red labels, you can run triangles and then smaller cut plugs. Those fish really tend to like that, especially when the pressure gets on.
Yeah.
But then also those reds also do really well behind a skateboard flasher, and instead of having to, so the reds kind of fit the mold for kind of both those fisheries. But if we get that, where the current's always pushing through the tide where you're at, and you're always kind of downstream trolling, people kind of prefer that means the water is going to be higher, and people then prefer the green, kind of the average, kind of middle of the road green size, because it's a little bigger bait, a little more flash, and you're not really going to be pulling it behind 360s. Not that you can't, but it seems to work a little better for triangle.
Yeah. And I will say, one thing I learned a couple of years ago, if there's a lot of BS in the water, like the smelt and stuff, like you said, alluded to the prawn spinner thing, having a big presentation out there is not gonna hurt you.
Bigger than the rest.
Yes, something
make that meal worth it for that.
Whether it's the green label herring that you have and you're putting the goofiest, widest tail kick on it you can, or a blue label, just something, just like anything fishing, be a little different than everyone else, and it will pay dividends. And I saw that firsthand.
Got it. So if those darn smelt decide to swim up a little bit further past the callus here in a couple weeks, I might have to get some.
I would go bigger than I would go bigger than smaller personally.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, good advice. What makes a good herring? So you talked a little bit about like your process. You go catch them, you starve them, and package them. Like what else is there? Because a lot of guys don't really know like kind of what goes into like making good herring bait and the significance of the proper handling of that to where the scales don't fall off and where the bellies. Well, I'll let you finish this, but where the bellies don't have a lot of material in it to burn.
No, I mean it starts with me or whoever else is catching them. You know, you got to treat them like eggs. It's as soon as you get a net wrapped around them, it's time is everything. You got to handle them, you know, very gently, you know, so you're not dropping scales while you're trying to transport them. You know, the starve time is the biggest thing. I will take a nice firm bait over a bait that has no scales. I will choose that over that. You know, there's a lot of things that, you know, as a consumer, you can't see or tell. And that's like, did the fish get rigor mortis as the people are trying to process them? Mm-hmm. You know, if they get rigor mortis, why you have a crew of guys trying to put them on trays? Well, they got to flatten them out and
just
bend them
more
and
because
more.
when they get rigor mortis, they're not going to be in that perfectly flat position.
So you got to handle them more, which means more scale loss, which means while you're bending them around, you know, you might internally mess them up. You know, that's where my advantage over my competitors is my net pens to where we process them is a 5 minute car ride. So it goes from the fish swimming, shocked, chilled, onto a processing table, into a freezer within an hour, 2 hours.
How do you shock them?
Well, essentially, I mean, you just take a generator and you take a scoop of bait and then you have this little bin or, you know, milk crate and you just have electrodes going through it.
Yeah.
And you set the basket of fish in the box and it shocks them and kills them quickly. So they're not thrashing around, throwing scales, you know, getting, you know, lactic acid buildup or whatever it is, you know, and then immediately going into an ice slushy in a bucket.
Okay, so you're taking the basket of fish, dumping it in there, shocking them for how long? 10 seconds?
Yeah, 10, 20 seconds till
they picking that basket up. So so you just got a vat. You just kind of work it through. Okay.
Exactly. And then get them in on a bucket of ice, you know, cold water and ice, and get them to the plant. And I mean, I got in the heat of it in the summertime, you know, I have 6 to 8 folks working for us. And you're going as fast as you can, putting them on the trays, you know, sorting them, grading them, tossing out the ones that didn't make the cut, you know, bad scales or what have you, and going into the freezer. And we do it in small batches. You know, we do multiple kills, we call it. You know, we're going and getting the fish out of the net pens. Instead of one big load for the day, we chop that up.
It's like curing bait. You don't want to do like one big batch of eggs or prawns. You want to use like a bunch of little batches.
Yes. So in that way, you know, we can control the quality better. Now, granted, we've had issues just like other people where we've had days where, you know, we've had a bad batch of bait, or we sell it and someone's freezer burns up and then the bait thaws out, you know, and that's another
and then
thing.
It freezes and then gets resold. Yeah.
And that's another thing is avoiding second frozen bait.
Ugh. Yeah.
And it happens more than you think. Because, you know, you invest a lot of money as a distributor or a tackle shop, you know, unfortunately things happen and you try to save your investment a little bit and they try to refreeze it. You can't do it. And how dead giveaway is if the eyes, the pupils of the eyes of a fish will turn white. If they turn white, that means that bait has been flash frozen quickly and it's all good. But as soon as you thaw it, those eyes will start to turn back to a black pupil. But they won't turn white again if they get refrozen. So the eyes, seeing that white center of those eyes is a dead giveaway that bait has been frozen and has stayed frozen. And it doesn't.
And what's funny is I've heard people say that is because it's freezer burned.
No.
So you're saying, so if it freezes, so it has the white pupils, it's good, but once it defrosts and then you try to refreeze it, that black will stay black.
Yes.
Yeah, it never goes back to white.
If you don't see the white pupils, do not buy that tray of bait. Something, either it got frozen too slowly at the producer's shop, or it got defrosted somewhere along the line. That is a big one for me, because just like any, eggs or anything, food at the store, frozen and thawed and frozen again is never ideal.
They're never as good.
Correct. Yeah. So, I mean, that's a nice starved bait. It's got its scales, frozen white eyes, no yellow on the fins. That's usually an indication of it's been in the freezer a long time.
Mm-hmm. Last year's bait, maybe the year before.
Fish like bait like mackerel or sardines, they will get that yellowish tinge to them. That for that particular species of fish, that's not really an indication that it's old. Mm-hmm. I think the fat content, or just how the DNA of how that fish is made, I think is different.
There's another oil there or something. Back in there.
But with herring, frozen, just real frozen, dried out looking or yellowish fins, that's not typically the best.
So you guys put all that care into, like you said, you're flash freezing, you're doing everything fast. Mm-hmm. So now as fishermen that are defrosting your bait, go through some of the steps that you use for that, because you don't just take a tray out of the fridge and go fishing.
No. So how I do it, I pull whatever I want out, say I get done with fishing for the day. I pull my bait out, I puncture the seal, because our bait is vacuum sealed. You'll find some that aren't, they're just, that's how they tray them, is non-vacuum bag. But I puncture the bag and I let it thaw out slowly. Just, if it's springtime, I just put it outside on a table or something and let it get thawed out enough to where the bag naturally separates from the fish.
That's a good call there.
Because if you try to take it out too early, the bag will stick to the fish and you'll pull scales off. Same way, like I'll put a tray of bait in the brine. I won't pull them apart. If I can get the bag off without any pulling scales off, and they're half or 3/4 frozen still, that's fine. I just put the whole damn tray into I brine my bait in gallon Ziploc bags, so a whole tray will fit perfectly in there. And then let it continue to thaw out in your brine. If you put them in the brine too early, they'll stay frozen and they won't brine. They'll just be sitting in, because you're using a brine, it's salt and water essentially. It just makes them colder. So your bait won't brine. It'll just be sitting in salty water. So you do need to let that bait thaw out a little bit so it absorbs that brine. And then usually, I get done with fishing. Say I get home 2, 3, 4 o'clock. I'm trying to get as much brine time on that bait as I can. So by, say I start fishing at 7 in the morning, the bait's not actually how I want it till, say, about noon. But it's got a couple hours to go still. But by 7 in the morning or 8 or whenever you decide to go out, it's usually firmed up and fishable for sure.
Well, I know guys that one of the best herring fishermen I know. He's one of those guys that takes pops the seal on the tray, takes it out in the morning.
Yeah.
And then when he gets to the river, opens the pack. I'm losing my voice. Opens the pack, slides the herring out, plugs it in. Raw and as natural as it can, because you make good bait.
Yeah.
I mean, that's as close as you can get to it.
Yeah.
But now, well, to be fair, he's also a single fisherman.
Right.
And he uses about a half a tray a day. Mm-hmm. And he's not kind of going through a lot of bait and not going through a lot of durability, because he's just kind of one rod, one angler.
Yeah.
Kind of a different way of doing it, but my God, he catches them.
Well, part of that is he's probably been doing it long enough. He's got his presentation dialed. He knows he knows the lines and the contours he needs to be. I've tried it. I know a lot of guys too. They just throw some rock salt on top and go fishing. I've personally never done as good with just a bloody straight bait out of the package. There have been times where I've seen it do better, but consistently, for at least me and how I fish and where I fish, it seems like I have the most confidence in a brine bait.
And it's hard to keep. It's hard to. I've done it in a pinch, and I've done it in the mornings where like forgot to do bait or whatever like that. And I've caught fish on them, but it does seem like you're not getting. If you do that method, even in a cooler, it's like unless you're keeping them on real heavy ice.
Yeah.
You're only going to get like a half a day out before those baits kind of start getting soft and unworkable.
Yeah. I would say if you don't, or like the guys who fish a raw bait and then at the end of the day, I'll brine it and use it the next day. I don't like that because from the time it gets thawed out, just like any raw product, something's deteriorating.
Right. That's what we say about eggs. It's like guys that catch eggs. It's like from the moment you kill that fish and remove those eggs from the belly, they're rotting.
Yeah.
Like you got to think about it in that respect. Like that's the clock's ticking.
Yeah. Yeah. Or, guys that, I know some guys that they'll use brine fish that are a week old, I mean, more power to you, but I wouldn't advise it. I wouldn't feel right going fishing.
One of the hardest lessons I ever learned, and this was like freaking 10, 12 years ago during that I-5 bridge freaking, or mid-March, black face beat down up there under the I-5 bridges, man. I one day, man, we were on them. I mean, we were cracking them. I mean, you were there. Everyone was there. It was good. We were cracking. You don't understand the amount of freaking punishment we were putting upon that upriver Springer run. It was dirty. And I can tell you, like one day, I can still remember the people I even took because I actually played ball with a couple of them. And I'm like, one day I got like kind of complacent, kind of lazy, had bait that I probably had for 2 days and went, I'm going to need like 5 of these baits in the morning to kill 4 fish. And I'm going to be done by 8 o'clock, peace out. Show up in the morning and I let that bait, obviously something had slipped to where I could even kind of smell the bait was just a little bit bad.
Yeah.
Patrick, it was so freaking bad of me.
You got humbled.
I got humbled. It was so bad.
Yeah.
I swear to God, this is a true story. I was trolling. Oh, what was I doing? I was trolling around, and there was another old boy out there trolling a flatlined quick fish. I swear to God. He goes by the boat, and this is after 10 o'clock, after most guys are like getting out of town. And I should have put spinners on. I should have done a million. I didn't. I just ended up leaving with my tail between my legs. But that boat went by, and I'm like, well, at least I know that guy is never going to catch a fish.
Oh, goodness.
And I swear to God, it wasn't 50 yards. I turned around, and that freaking guy had one on netting, and I was like, oh, my God. And that was like the hardest lesson I ever learned on my herring troll because it was automatic fishing. It was put a herring in the water, put it on the bottom, troll it a couple hundred yards, you'll get one and go home.
Yeah.
I did not go. I went home with no fish that day.
Yeah. That's a valuable lesson. It doesn't. I mean, if you're gonna go fishing, especially if you're gonna go fishing for hire, you better have it be on
this
point.
was in my Koffler days.
Yeah.
So I know that was at least 13, 14 years ago.
So, I mean, you got to put the effort in.
It was bad. I'll never skimp on bait, which is why I call you every year about November to get a case or two of herring.
Yeah.
Involved. What you got any tips for like since you like the herring, I know you like to play with like the colors and the dyes. I mean, for Mr. Raw natural herring producer, you should dye your bait a lot.
I really for probably 5 years straight I did the best on a chartreuse dyed bait. I love fishing a chartreuse dyed bait.
Man.
I haven't done much good on blue. I know guys that conk them on blue dyed baits.
That's my jam.
But for whatever reason, we just for a few years in a row, I mean, we were doing pretty good on chartreuse dyed bait. Last year for me was not. It was a natural shine, just make it chrome and put it down there. So I mean, I show up to the river with not necessarily 3 different brines. I have a couple different brines and stuff that I play around with, but I'm always throwing at least 2 different colors. And on top of that, I always got like an anchovy out there or something different or a prawn spinner or something like that. But I do like a dyed bait. For me, my color's chartreuse. Chartreuse or Forest Kelly green. One of those, it seems like when the sun's really high on those really nice days, just a not dark green, but just a
tinge darker than the normal.
Yeah,
chartreuse.
not the lime chartreuse, just stop sign colored, just, oh my God, neon sign, but just that's how I describe it. Kelly green, forest green, I guess, something like that. Seems like I've had decent luck with that. And I've been known to throw like pink dyed baits too.
Whoa.
I was wondering if you were going to say it. I remember seeing you out there with the pretty pink one.
Yeah. Once in a while. Can't say I've had the most of consistency with it, but I've gotten a couple fish to go on it, and it's kind of cool, just something different, but
hey, it works.
Yeah. So, but it changes every year, some years they like a dyed bait, some days they like a scented bait, some days
it is a conditions thing. You got to go out. I mean, it's still the same springers, but it is a lot of times just predicated on the conditions.
Yeah.
Water temps, color, where they're sitting, if they're running in 8 feet, or if they're running out in 50 feet.
Exactly.
I mean, shoot, some years we're bouncing, 18-ounce leads on the bottom for them out in the middle of the channel.
Oh, yeah.
We're out 6 feet of water.
It's no different than
dynamic fishing.
humans, do you feel like steak or burgers or chicken tonight? I mean, they change their moods. They change their habits. There's a lot of consistencies with salmon fishing, but at the same time, there's a lot of inconsistencies. And that's kind of the part where
adjustments, catch fish, and adjustments win tournaments.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's partly where I have my passion for, king salmon fishing, is that you're playing that game every morning, every day. So
for sure,
tides change every day and everything. Last question for you, because you brought it up, so I can ask it. Do you do anchovies?
I do. Yeah, we don't do a whole lot of them. Our season's really short where we fish them. We put them up, and it's just all market driven for us, depending on how much we put up. But yes, we do fish for anchovies. Most of our anchovies are typically a little bit bigger than like coast ones, where they historically get them. Very rarely are we encountering fish like under 5.5 inches. But yeah, we do catch and process anchovies.
And do you use them for springers?
I absolutely do.
I think that's all we're gonna get out of that. Yeah, I mean, you talked about being different, dyeing baits and stuff like that, but having an anchovy out there definitely
never hurts,
and it's a little skinnier bait profile, looks kind of a little smelty-ish, and and it's sometimes in some situations it can be a little more durable too, and a little different spin.
I don't want to shoot myself in the foot, but the nice thing about this year, at least, if you can't get your hands on some oranges or reds, Yakima came out with those cut plug things. Oh yeah, they look just like a cut plug herring, and the size is identical to a red label bait. Yeah. So for those of you who are looking,
I can't believe the bait guy is sitting here talking about a stuffer bait.
Plastics.
But then again, you should also stuff that bait with a little chunk of herring.
It's perfect where I could fit a whole orange label herring inside of that bait. So food for thought.
There you go. We're going to see out there with Patrick with the pink and the chartreuse cut plugs with his herring stuff in there, selling us all cases and cases of green label. Laughing his
Jared
butt
put
off.
me out of a job.
All right, guys. So Patrick, just give a couple guys some suggestions on where they can get your bait, and then you actually go under 2 labels. So explain all that stuff.
Yeah. No, we produce Point Defiance label herring and Harbor herring. If you're in Southwest Washington, D&G Baits, they buy our stuff and sell it. We'll have a little bit here at the Addicted store, not a whole bunch, so it might be inconsistent on the availability of it. We're just gonna first time putting it in here, so see how it goes. D&G Bait, Chehalis Outfitters, a little farther north, Sportco up in Puget Sound region. I think the Edge Pro Shop gets it once in a while. I haven't been in there a while, but I think they do. We're out on the coast. You can go to that big game fishing, tackle time. Most everybody these days.
Anybody has Harbor or Point Defiance.
I hope so.
Let's just be real.
I hope so.
Let's just be real. All right, Patrick. Well, thank you so much. Thank you for the insight on that. That was awesome podcast. I think, even I learned a couple little tidbits and a couple good reminders.
For sure.
And, we appreciate you coming in, man. And if you guys need to find a Springer trip, look up Gaffney's Guide Service as well, because he'll go out there and show you how to twirl that pretty bait that he caught probably just about a few months earlier. Huh?
That's right.
All right, guys. All right, thanks for tuning in. We'll see you on the next one.